All right, we're live. How's it going, Michael?
Hey,
It's
things
Jordan.
are pretty good over here. It's 8 a.m., so still kind of waking up, got my coffee.
Oh, wait, hold on. Like, I'm getting
Sure.
I think I have this opened in another window.
Oh, take your time.
It's like reverbing. Okay, we're good now. Yeah, so this is Nomad Chat. Like, it's for anything related to being a digital nomad. You don't have to be one yourself, but like stuff about working online, managing your finances remotely, things that are just new and awesome and exciting. And I was really interested in talking to you because you mentioned that you're living off of Bitcoin. That I found out later, which is probably even more cool, that you have this efficiencies everything website. So we could just start off like with a quick intro to what your website is, and then we'll talk about the Bitcoin thing. And the efficiencies everything we'll definitely cover in our next chat, which should be coming up soon.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on. So yeah, I run efficiencies, everything. That's probably the cool thing I do. So with that website, I do industrial engineering. That's that factory efficiency, making sure your assembly line is very efficient, quick, and low cost. Applying that to life at home. So that would mean, say, getting ready in the morning. My morning routine used to take me 15 minutes, and I got it down to 6 minutes. And that was just as simple as writing down every single thing I was doing, and then looking and saying, well, what provides value and what is non-value added. And if you can just eliminate walking back and forth or waiting, you'll actually save time every morning. And then my most popular article is my calorie per dollar list. And we have calories per dollar for groceries, for McDonald's, Taco Bell, Wendy's, all the restaurants. If you Google it, you'll find calories per dollar of it.
Wow, that's crazy. Actually, I'm really excited to check that out because I'm kind of I'm not quite, I haven't studied as much as you, but I'm also into being efficient and making the most use of my time. So I can't wait to talk about that, hopefully in our next interview very soon. That's very cool. But I guess for now, we're going to stick with the Bitcoin thing and how you're living off that. I want to hear more about that. You said you're using a debit card. So maybe we just start with you saying how you even thought of doing it or why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm one of those believers that I believe in Bitcoin more than US dollars. Just historically, government currency, the government just prints more of. Whenever there's a problem, they run the presses, and now we have more US dollars. So being kind of paranoid of inflation, I decided Bitcoin was just a better option given that there's only 21 million solutions, and it's going to be almost impossible to ever change that. So kind of whenever I think about what is a better decision, whether to keep US dollars or Bitcoin, I think Bitcoin is just easily the no-brainer. I mean, while daily prices might fluctuate in 20 years, it's without a doubt that the government's going to print more money, and Bitcoin is still going to remain at 21 million of them.
Yeah. Have you heard of Gresham's law? It's exactly what you're talking about.
No, what is that?
Okay, so basically, it means that there's a tendency. There's like a study done, and I'll have to like look up more information on this later. But the gist of it is that people will, when there's two or more kinds of money or whatever currency, let's say, it's people are going to want to inherently spend out the bad, the currency that is more likely to be inflated and not worth as much in the long run, and they're going to keep the what they see as more valuable or a better store of value. So this is one of the bigger big proponents or reasons why Bitcoin is such a better long-term store of value, is because people aren't spending the Bitcoin. Like this is exactly true for me. Like I have Bitcoin, but I don't want to spend it. I'd rather spend my US dollars because I think a few years down the road that Bitcoin is going to be a lot better, in the long term. Better store of value. So
right.
Anyway, sorry to sidetrack.
Well, very specifically, I've actually been spending a little bit on my Bitcoin debit card. So I'm one of those people that got Shift. And my big thing with that is I didn't have a lot of cash on hand. We just bought a bunch of home expenses. We got a new house, so we had to get some outdoor work done, and cash on hand was low. So I have a Bitcoin debit card, which has enough Bitcoin in that account that I can pay for, groceries, gas, all that good stuff. And I didn't want to spend my cash on hand because I was saving up my cash on hand for, a big payment. We had property tax due. So without spending a bunch of time going on Coinbase or moving money from like a wallet to Coinbase and selling it, it was just easy to take my Bitcoin debit card, swipe it when I was at the store, and you pay for things. And I have enough Bitcoin where it didn't really affect, the $20 in groceries I bought, but it also didn't cut into my cash on hand, which I was saving up. So Bitcoin's found a way to make my life a little bit easier. Whether I'm actually a big fan, and here's something I'm not even sure people know about this. Coinbase email, you can send money for free from friend to friend using Coinbase email. So I can't tell you how many times I paid for party supplies for my friend, where I gave him, $50 on Coinbase email, no fees, it's instant. And it basically, between Coinbase email and Shift, you could replace US dollars in your life. And while I haven't gotten totally there because my mortgage is in US dollars and that goes through my bank account and I get paid in US dollars, I try to dollar cost average Bitcoin, and I try not to buy at all-time highs. That's another big rule I have for myself. Buy during a dip and buy weekly or monthly kind of thing.
Yeah, totally. I'm all about cost dollar averaging. Investing in Bitcoin could be a whole nother discussion. Real quick, we can get back to Shift in a second, but you mentioned this Coinbase email. It actually, I have a Coinbase account. I've been investing in Bitcoin for a couple of years now, and I've in different ways, and I've never heard of Coinbase email. Is that like, so it converts it from Bitcoin into US dollar like automatically to pay your friends?
Actually, just Bitcoin. So when you say you want to send Bitcoin to a friend, if you type in their email, it'll do a off-chain transaction where it just changes in the Coinbase system how much you have and how much your friend has. But you have to do it via email, and there's no fees. It'll be sent in, not even a second. Every time I click, so it is an off-chain transaction. And by the way, so Shift is also an off-chain transaction. I'm kind of getting excited about off-chain. I thought maybe that defeated the purpose of blockchain, and that was up until I used the tech. And when I got to buy burritos at Taco Bell using my Bitcoin debit card, and it didn't give me a fee, I was just like, I was ready for this.
Okay, so there's no, so back to Shift, and I probably shouldn't get too technical in case people aren't like, doesn't know as much about Bitcoin, but so let's just say off-chain, maybe for people who don't know what that is, can we define that real quick?
Yeah, so an on-chain transaction happens where when a transaction is written, it's written to the blockchain. So that's public knowledge that anyone can see. You can flip through the Bitcoin blockchain and see every transaction that's happened over the last 9 years. But an off-chain transaction means that there is Bitcoin, say, stored on someone else's wallet, but they're managing that wallet and a bunch of other accounts. So say they manage my account, they manage your account. Coinbase manages a lot of accounts, but they may only have like 3 to 5 wallets, but they have 1 million accounts. So they run a database on one of their servers, and they can manage all of the accounts on a database without having to use this Bitcoin blockchain and writing every transaction to it. If you choose to use a on-chain transaction, Coinbase will send that, but they will also send you a fee for it, but it does get written to the blockchain.
Right,
Does that kind of explain the difference between the two?
Yeah, exactly. So Coinbase is because it's all within Coinbase, so it's like they don't need to charge you an extra fee for it. Like when you're paying with PayPal and you pay someone else with PayPal, it's all on the PayPal or through the bank account. I mean, that's a whole nother thing. But, okay, so just to the Shift thing. Man, there's so much to talk about here. Shift, you said there's no fee because it's, I mean, you can kind of call it like off-chain because it's,
so what I've noticed with Shift, I'll kind of tell you the experience I had with Shift and kind of where maybe fees could be hidden. I remember when I first got the card, I think there was some sort of start fee, but I was so excited for the technology. You know, the $10 or $20 fee to get the card wasn't a big deal. Especially because it also means I don't have to keep as much US dollars on hand, so I can invest more in Bitcoin now. So, you know, a little petty fee wasn't too big, especially one time. And then they don't do fees on transactions, but what I have noticed is maybe the conversion rate isn't great. So there might be a point to be said about the conversion rate being a little bit higher when using Shift. And the best example I saw of this was I bought gas. So when you buy gas, they actually charge you more than what you're going to fill up in, just to make sure that you're going to have enough money to pay. So it'll show you just bought, say, 20 gallons of gas, and it'll exchange Bitcoin for US dollars. And then when you only bought $10 of gas, then they'll give it back to you at the new exchange rate. And I want to say most of the time the exchange rate has been favorable during that 30-second window. And I say 30 seconds, maybe it was like a 2-minute window between filling up your gas and finishing the transaction. But I have seen it the other way as well. So maybe they're not fudging it, but that is actually one of the risks of off-chain. When you have an on-chain transaction, you know every detail about it. But with off-chain, we have to trust Shift, make sure that they're doing the transaction for us. And so far, I've only had great experiences. It's probably the coolest piece of technology in my wallet.
Okay. Oh, cool. Okay, so I have so much more I want to ask you, but trying to keep this short and sweet. One of the things, one of the reasons I would be hesitant to use Shift or some other technology that lets you spend out in Bitcoin or any other crypto is because, you know, obviously it fluctuates wildly. And, you know, if it shoots up one day and I feel like I'm getting more bang for my buck, great. But I don't want to have to feel like I'm checking the price of Bitcoin every day. And, oh no, today it went down 10%. And then I feel like everything, whether it's a coffee or gas, gets more expensive. So how do you deal with that? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, that's definitely been, I've had those moments there where I think I dollar cost average Bitcoin at $7,000, and then I was buying gas or was at the pharmacy and I bought something for a few bucks, but the exchange rate was only $6,500. And the way I've kind of started to think about that is, as long as I dollar cost average and as long as I'm playing long, I also don't spend too much money. If I spend money, it's usually for a good reason. It was going to be in US dollars anyway. I'm not buying too many luxury non-needed products. So timing the market with, you know, a Bitcoin transaction usually doesn't happen. Usually it's I need groceries and it doesn't really matter. Yeah. And the biggest deal is that because I'm holding less US dollars on hand, even if the price of Bitcoin fluctuates for a bit, longer term, I'm looking at just being better. And that's really the mentality I've come to, where I just stopped believing that the US dollar is going to be worth more long term. And if I can have more money in Bitcoin and keep less US dollars on hand, that'll just benefit me later, even if there's a few $100 price swing.
Exactly. So you're thinking, okay, short term, maybe you lose a couple of bucks here and there, but long term, this helps you maintain that lifestyle and your bigger holding in Bitcoin, and it'll benefit you, you know, knock on wood, for the long run. I totally, I don't want to get into that.
Well, man. I will say one of the things that like dollar cost averaging gets rid of almost that issue of, well, you just bought Bitcoin for $7,000. Well, if I buy another, you know, $500 of Bitcoin at $6,000 now, I could be technically spending that, and then maybe later I sell more if it gets past 7,000. But I'm actually not a big fan of selling Bitcoin for US dollars. I think that almost defeats the purpose of cryptocurrency, like getting off of fiat and never using fiat again. So I find this as just one more step to sort of freeing ourselves from having a government currency where they print money and we're really not sure who's getting it or how much is coming out.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, that's a perfect transition into our last question. But before we get into that, I just want to say to everyone, thank you so much for watching. And please give us a thumbs up if you like it, because it's like, I think it's my first interview that I'm streaming live. So yay for that. We're going to talk about, and subscribe, of course. And you're going to meet Michael again in the next follow-up about his efficiencies, everything site. But I want to ask now to end it with tax implications, because you mentioned that you, in that last question, you mentioned that you don't want to sell Bitcoin because it defeats the purpose, but in a way, selling it, I mean, you're selling it in a way by spending it.
Right, that's true.
You know, effectively the same thing. So how does that affect you for tax, and how do you deal with that?
Yeah, I've thought about the tax thing, and given the different assets I own, I'm not going to mess with the IRS, and I am going to pay the taxes. I may be a libertarian, but I also know how people go to jail, so I will be paying the taxes. I'm not too worried. I've done probably 30 to 40 different transactions with my Shift card over the last year, and all of that I can look up, and it has the sell price of Bitcoin at the time. I know when I've bought Bitcoin. So as long as I line this up in an Excel file, I'm sure I can throw this together. And I'll do that very likely at the end of the year. And I've heard a positive take on the whole paying taxes for cryptocurrency.
Oh, yeah?
When you pay taxes, that means that you've made money. So great. Like if you pay taxes, that means you benefited in one way or another. And mind you, I don't like taxes. I don't think anyone does. But it is a good take if you have to pay them anyway.
True. So like kind of going back to an earlier point, if you did happen to maybe you bought it at 7,000 and then you're spending it out when it's a little bit less,
right,
then you actually aren't technically paying tax on that, right, because exactly, you're at a loss. Good point. That's a really good point. I have had
some of those where I won't have to pay tax on it because I think I bought it $7,000, and then a few days later I bought groceries for $40.
Yeah, I actually didn't consider that. That's a good point.
And then I've actually started considering, we're trying to start a nonprofit, or I should say we have started a nonprofit. And one of the things we're doing is giving away slow cookers to 5th graders and teaching them a 2-minute recipe. The recipe is 2 chicken breasts and a cream of broccoli or cream of cheddar soup, and you serve that over rice with a vegetable. And one of my thoughts with that is if you can donate, say, Bitcoin to a charity, you don't have to pay tax on that. So we may be able to fund one of my projects with Bitcoin money and not have to pay tax. So that may be another way around that.
That's really, really cool. That's another thing that most people don't think about when they think about Bitcoin. So glad you mentioned that. All right, so we have to kind of wrap this up. I mean, I could talk all day about this stuff, but are there any final words or closing comments you want to make before we end it?
I guess if anyone's skeptical of Bitcoin, the thing I like to tell them is it's accepted worldwide. I mean, every continent, probably every country accepts Bitcoin in one way or another. So even if there's a ban in one, I don't see it going away. There's 21 million ever, and you see people are able to use this technology to buy burritos. It's unbelievable. When I spent $2.12 because that included the tax, and I was able to buy burritos at at Taco Bell, and it was just absolutely incredible. So
this is a cool feeling.
Excited about the future of this technology. I don't know. You got anything else? Do you have any excitement towards any cryptos? I'm kind of curious what you're into.
Oh my God! Well, I'm a big crypto, like a secret crypto nerd. I don't want to even start talking about it right now. But I will say, okay, since you asked, if I had to pick a favorite, like what they call altcoin, right? Litecoin is my biggest holding after Bitcoin because it kind of goes hand in hand. But yeah, I don't want to even get into that, jump into that whole thing now. Okay, last question. What's your favorite altcoin? Just answer that.
I don't know if I have one. I was really into the smart coins until they just didn't seem to work. So now I really think if there's going to be a competitor to Bitcoin, it's going to have to be a non-blockchain currency coin. So I've heard the directed acrylic graphs are a non-blockchain technology, and you can do multiple transactions without it affecting the greater chain. So I'm kind of getting excited for those, but really I'm 90% Bitcoin.
Yeah, I don't think, and that's a whole, again, so many things we could talk about. I think Bitcoin it's number one. It's been around for close to 10 years now, give or take, and it's here to stay. It's been battle tested, and there's been like fluctuations, and people say, oh, this thing is going to overtake Bitcoin or whatever, and it's just not going to happen.
Right.
It would have happened at this point if it already did. Anyway, thank you so much again, Michael, for joining us on Nomad Chat. And I'm really, really looking forward to our next talk about efficiencies is everything. That's what it's called, right?
Yeah, efficiency is everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because that's a whole nother.
Google it, you can find it. Like, even if you spell it wrong, Google will get you there. So
yeah, just efficiencyseverything.com.
Yep.
Right. Cool. All right. Thanks again, and I will see you in the next video.
Thank you for having me. Very fun. We'll see you.
Cool. All right. Yep.